1. Identity of wealth. 1. 1 1 1 1 1. Consider two people who each receive an unexpected inheritance of $10,000. The first person, whose identity revolves around scarcity and immediate gratification, sees this money as a chance to buy things they have always wanted. Within months, the money disappears into purchases that bring temporary pleasure but create no lasting value. The second person, who has cultivated the identity of a wealth builder, sees the same money as seed capital. They invest it, save it, or use it to create something of greater value. Years later, that 10,000 has grown into 50,000, then 100,000, because it fell into the hands of someone who had become wealthy in character before becoming wealthy in fact. This is why lottery winners so often return to their previous financial state within a few years. The money arrived before the identity had changed. Their outer circumstances shifted dramatically, but their inner blueprint remained the same. They had not yet become the kind of person for whom wealth feels natural and inevitable. You become wealthy by thinking like a wealthy person before you have wealth. You become wealthy by making the daily choices that wealthy people make, even when your bank account suggests you cannot afford to think that way. You become wealthy by developing the habits, the discipline, and the long-term perspective that treats money as a tool for building rather than a remedy for immediate wants. The wealthy person is not wealthy because they have money. They have money because they have become wealthy in their approach to value, time, and decision-making. They understand that every choice they make either builds their fortune or diminishes it. They see opportunities where others see only problems. They think in decades while others think in days. They save first and spend second. They invest in their growth before they invest in their comfort. This identity shift changes everything about how money moves through your life. When you truly become a wealth builder, you stop making the 1,000 small choices that keep you poor. You no longer buy things you cannot afford to impress people you do not like. You no longer choose immediate pleasure over long-term gain. You no longer think of money as something to spend, but as something to steward. The practical application begins with a simple recognition. Every action you take with money is either consistent with wealth building or inconsistent with it. Starting today, before you make any financial decision, ask yourself one question. What would someone who is building lasting wealth do in this situation? Then do that thing, regardless of what your current bank balance might suggest. When you reach for your wallet, pause and consider whether this purchase moves you closer to or further from your financial goals. When you receive money, whether from your job or an unexpected source, ask yourself how a wealth builder would allocate these funds. When you face a choice between immediate gratification and long-term benefit, remember that you are becoming someone for whom the long-term view is natural and automatic. This is not about depriving yourself or living a joyless life focused only on accumulation. True wealth includes the wisdom to spend joyfully on things that matter, while avoiding waste on things that do not. It means understanding the difference between price and value, between cost and investment, between wanting and needing. You are not waiting for wealth to arrive so you can start living like a wealthy person. You are living like a wealthy person so that wealth can find its natural home in your life. You are not hoping to get lucky with money. You are becoming the kind of person who creates their own financial fortune through consistent, intelligent action. The moment you shift from trying to have wealth to becoming wealthy, everything changes. Your daily choices align with your long-term goals. Your spending serves your values instead of undermining them. Your money starts working for you instead of disappearing despite your best intentions. You stop feeling like money controls you and start experiencing the quiet confidence of someone who controls their financial destiny. Wealth is not about the size of your current income or the balance in your current account. Wealth is about who you are becoming in your relationship with money, value, and the future you are building, one choice at a time. What kind of person are you becoming with each financial choice you make today? 2. Think in value. A master craftsman walks through a workshop filled with broken tools and scattered materials. Where others see waste and disorder, his trained eye sees possibility. That bent piece of metal becomes the perfect spring for a clock. Those wood shavings become kindling that warms his home through winter. The broken wheel becomes the foundation for something entirely new. His mind has been trained to see value where others see nothing. This is the exact difference between those who accumulate wealth and those who struggle financially their entire lives. The wealthy person has trained their mind to think in value, while the struggling person thinks only in money. When you think in money, you see the world as a place where wealth is scarce, and you must fight for your share. You focus on what things cost, what you lack, and how little you have compared to others. Your mind becomes a calculator of shortage, constantly measuring what you cannot afford and what others possess that you do not. When you think in value, you see the world as an endless reservoir of problems waiting for solutions, needs waiting to be filled, and improvements waiting to be made. Your mind becomes an instrument of creation, constantly discovering what you can contribute and what others need that you might provide. The person who thinks in money asks, "How can I get more?" The person who thinks in value asks, "How can I give more?" This difference in questions creates entirely different lives. The person who thinks in value, this come, with quarter and AP. The money-focused mind attracts scarcity because it operates from scarcity. The value-focused mind attracts abundance because it operates from abundance. Consider the merchant who sells grain in the marketplace. If he thinks in money, he focuses on extracting the highest price from each customer, measures every grain with suspicion, and counts his coins with fear that tomorrow will bring less. His customers sense his grasping energy and buy reluctantly, always looking for another merchant who might charge them less. But if he thinks in value, he focuses on providing the finest grain at a fair price, making sure his customers have exactly what they need for their families, and building relationships that last for years. His customers sense his giving energy and return gladly, bringing their friends and family to buy from someone they trust. Which merchant builds greater wealth over time? Value thinking transforms every interaction from a transaction into an opportunity. You begin to notice what problems people mention in casual conversation. You observe what small frustrations appear again and again in daily life. You see what could be made simpler, faster, more beautiful, or more useful. The barber who thinks in value listens carefully as his customers speak, learning about their businesses and their challenges. Soon he becomes more than someone who cuts hair. He becomes someone who connects people, who offers advice, who remembers what matters to each person who sits in his chair. His shop becomes a gathering place where value flows in every direction, and prosperity follows naturally. The farmer who thinks in value doesn't just grow crops, she studies what her community needs most, tends her soil with care for future seasons, and finds ways to help her neighbors solve problems beyond food. Her farm becomes the center of abundance because she has made herself the center of usefulness. Money is simply a measurement of value delivered. When you increase the value you create and deliver, money increases automatically. When you focus only on increasing money without increasing value, both money and satisfaction slip away. Train your mind to think in value by practicing a simple daily habit. Before you sleep each night, ask yourself 3 questions. What value did I create today? What value did I receive today? What value can I create tomorrow? Let your mind work on these questions as you rest, and wake with your consciousness oriented toward contribution rather than accumulation. Begin to listen differently in every conversation. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, listen for what people need, what they struggle with, what would make their lives easier or better. Your mind will begin to see connections and possibilities that were invisible before. When you face any problem in your own life, ask not, "How can I get out of this?" but, "What value might come from solving this?" Many fortunes have been built by people who turned their personal problems into solutions for others. You are training your mind to become an instrument of value creation. You are developing the most profitable skill any person can possess, the ability to see what others need and find ways to provide it. You are transforming from someone who chases money into someone whom money follows naturally. Every wealthy person in history has mastered this shift from money thinking to value thinking. They stopped asking what the world owed them and started asking what they could offer the world. This change in focus changed everything else. When you think in value consistently, you become valuable consistently. When you become valuable consistently, wealth flows to you inevitably. This is not theory. This is the fundamental law by which all lasting fortunes are made. If you could only make one change to guarantee your financial future would be brighter, what would serve you better than training your mind to see value everywhere you look? 3. Inner worth first. There once lived a lottery winner who received $20 million on a Tuesday and was broke again by the following spring. When reporters asked how such a fortune could vanish so quickly, he shrugged and said, "I always knew I wasn't meant to have that kind of money." His inner picture of himself had remained unchanged, and the money simply flowed away to match what he believed he deserved. This story repeats itself countless times because most people focus on getting money while ignoring the deeper question. Do they truly feel worthy of keeping it? Money has a strange way of slipping through the fingers of those who carry secret doubts about their right to possess it. You can learn every investment strategy, master every business principle, and work with relentless determination. But if deep down you feel unworthy of wealth, your efforts will mysteriously undermine themselves. The universe seems to conspire to bring your outer circumstances into alignment with your inner sense of worth. Your sense of worthiness acts like a financial thermostat. When money flows into your life beyond what you unconsciously believe you deserve, discomfort sets in. Without realizing it, you begin making decisions that restore the familiar level. You overspend on unnecessary luxuries, make careless investments, lend money you cannot afford to lose, or simply stop doing the things that brought the wealth in the first place. The money disappears, and you return to a financial level that matches your inner picture of what you deserve. But the opposite is also true. When your sense of inner worth rises, money begins flowing toward you more easily and staying with you more naturally. You make better decisions because you believe you deserve good outcomes. You treat money with the respect that befits someone who belongs in its presence. You invest wisely because you see yourself as the kind of person who builds lasting wealth rather than merely stumbling upon temporary windfalls. The foundation of inner worth rests not on what you have accomplished or accumulated, but on the simple recognition that you are inherently valuable. You were not born to struggle with money forever. You were not designed to live in constant financial fear. You are worthy of abundance, prosperity, and the peace that comes with financial security. This recognition changes everything. When you truly know your worth, you stop accepting less than you deserve in your work. You negotiate with quiet confidence because you believe in the value you bring. You save money consistently because you see yourself as someone whose future matters. You invest wisely because you trust yourself to make good decisions. The daily practice of building inner worth requires gentle persistence. Each morning, remind yourself that you deserve the wealth you are creating. When doubts arise about your right to prosper, acknowledge them without judgment and choose different thoughts. Notice the voice that says you should be grateful for crumbs, and replace it with the truth that you were made for abundance. Your worthiness is not earned through suffering or proven through struggle. It exists simply because you exist. The wealthy understand this secret. They do not carry guilt about their prosperity or apologize for their success. They feel at home with money because they have made peace with their own value. Practical steps begin with your inner conversation. Pay attention to how you talk to yourself about money and about your right to have it. When you catch yourself thinking, "People like me don't get to have that much money," stop and ask where that belief came from. Usually, you will find it originated from someone else's fear or limitation, not from any truth about you. Start treating yourself like someone who deserves good things. This does not mean spending money you do not have, but rather making choices that honor your worth. Keep your surroundings clean and organized. Dress well within your means. Speak kindly to yourself. These small acts of self-respect send a message to your subconscious mind that you are someone worthy of care and investment. When opportunities arise, notice whether you automatically disqualify yourself or step forward with confidence. Worthy people expect good things to happen to them. They apply for better positions, pursue profitable ventures, and surround themselves with others who are building wealth. They do this not from desperation or greed, but from the quiet certainty that they belong among the prosperous. Your relationship with money reflects your relationship with yourself. If you criticize yourself constantly, you will find fault with every financial decision you make. If you trust yourself and believe in your inherent worth, money becomes a tool for good in your hands, rather than a source of anxiety and confusion. You are not an accident in this world, scrambling for whatever scraps you can find. You are a valuable person with gifts to offer, and a right to prosper from sharing those gifts. Your worth is not conditional on your current bank balance, your past mistakes, or other people's approval. It is your birthright, as natural and undeniable as your need for air and water. You become wealthy from the inside out, first feeling worthy of wealth, then making decisions that align with that worthiness. The money follows the mindset, not the other way around. When you know you deserve abundance, you create it naturally because every choice you make flows from that deep certainty. Are you ready to claim the inner worth that makes outer wealth inevitable? 4. Cause and effect. There is a moment in every person's financial life when they stand at a crossroads. Down one path lies the familiar territory of explaining, blaming, and hoping that circumstances will change. Down the other path lies a profound shift that separates those who build lasting wealth from those who remain forever at the mercy of outside forces. This shift happens the instant you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What am I creating that brings this result?" 1. Most people live their financial lives backwards. They see their empty bank account and blame their salary. They notice their debt and point to unexpected expenses. They observe their lack of savings and curse the economy. In each case, they mistake the effect for the cause. And in doing so, they surrender their power to change anything meaningful. But wealth operates by an ancient and unbreakable law. Every financial result in your life is an effect, and somewhere in your daily choices, thoughts, and habits lies the cause that created it. When you grasp this truth and live by it, your wealth stops being subject to chance and becomes a matter of choice. The person who earns little money is creating causes that produce that effect. Perhaps they avoid opportunities for additional responsibility. Perhaps they spend their evenings in distraction rather than developing valuable skills. Perhaps they think thoughts of limitation so consistently that they cannot recognize abundance when it appears. The person drowning in debt is creating causes that produce that effect. Perhaps they make purchases to feel better, rather than to create value. Perhaps they ignore small expenses that compound into large problems. Perhaps they tell themselves stories about money that make overspending feel justified. The person with no savings is creating causes that produce that effect. Perhaps they treat every dollar that arrives as permission to spend. Perhaps they prioritize today's comfort over tomorrow's security. Perhaps they have never decided that their future self deserves protection. This is not about blame or shame. This is about power. The moment you accept complete responsibility for your financial results, you reclaim complete power to change them. The moment you stop making your bank balance the fault of external circumstances, you make it the product of internal choices. Consider two people who receive the same unexpected expense. One says, "This always happens to me. I can never get ahead because something always comes up." The other says, "This shows me I need a stronger emergency fund and better preparation for the unexpected." The first person stays powerless. The second person just planted the cause for future financial security. The difference between these responses reveals everything. One person sees themselves as a victim of financial effects. The other sees themselves as the creator of financial causes. One person remains stuck in the same patterns. The other moves toward different results. This principle applies to every level of wealth. The millionaire who loses everything and rebuilds it quickly understands that their wealth came from causes they can recreate. The lottery winner who goes bankrupt never built the causes that sustain wealth, so they cannot keep what they have not earned through right thinking and right action. Your daily financial reality flows from your daily financial choices. Your choices flow from your beliefs about money, about yourself, and about what you deserve. Your beliefs flow from the thoughts you think most often. When you change your thinking, you change your choosing. When you change your choosing, you change your results. Start by examining your current financial effects without judgment. Look at your income, your expenses, your savings, your debt. Instead of defending or explaining these numbers, ask yourself, What causes am I creating that produce these results? If your income is lower than you want, what causes might be creating that effect? Are you developing skills that the marketplace values? Are you seeking opportunities to provide greater service? Are you positioning yourself where your talents can be recognized and rewarded? If your expenses are higher than they should be, what causes create that effect? Are you spending to solve emotional problems? Are you buying things to impress others? Are you avoiding the small disciplines that prevent large financial problems? If your savings are smaller than they need to be, what causes create that effect? Do you pay everyone else before paying yourself? Do you wait for large amounts instead of starting with small amounts? Do you spend unconsciously because you have never made conscious choices about your money's purpose? Begin creating new causes immediately. Choose one financial habit that successful people practice and begin practicing it yourself. Set aside $1 if that is what you can spare, but set it aside with the consciousness that you are creating the cause of accumulation. Make one decision based on what your future self needs rather than what your present self wants. Watch your thoughts about money throughout the day. When you notice thoughts of limitation, consciously replace them with thoughts of possibility. When you hear yourself making excuses for your financial situation, stop and ask what actions you could take instead. As you consistently create better causes, you will inevitably see better effects. This is not wishful thinking. This is the operation of natural law. Just as planting produces harvest and exercise produces strength, right financial causes produce wealth. You are not a victim of your financial circumstances. You are the creator of your financial circumstances. When you take complete responsibility for every financial result in your life, you claim complete power to create the financial life you want. In this moment of responsibility, you stop being someone to whom wealth might happen and become someone through whom wealth will flow. What financial effect in your life is calling you to examine the causes you have been creating? 5. Small daily levers. Watch a master craftsman at work, and you will notice something remarkable. The violin maker does not carve an instrument in one heroic session. The master gardener does not grow prize roses with a single weekend of effort. The skilled engineer does not build a bridge by moving one massive stone. Instead, each master applies small, precise pressures day after day, knowing that gentle persistence accomplishes what force cannot. This same principle governs the accumulation of wealth. The fortunes that last are not built by dramatic gestures or spectacular windfalls, but by tiny, repeated actions performed with quiet consistency. A dollar saved here, a wise choice there. A small investment repeated month after month, these are the levers that move mountains of money over time. Most people miss this truth because they are looking for the wrong kind of power. They search for the one big break, the perfect opportunity, the sudden windfall that will solve their money problems forever. Meanwhile, they ignore the small daily choices that actually determine their financial destiny. They overlook the compound interest earning pennies each day while they chase the lottery ticket promising millions. They dismiss the modest investment while they dream of striking gold. But you who understand the mathematics of daily discipline know better. You recognize that small levers, applied consistently, generate forces that no single effort can match. When you save 10% of every dollar you earn, you are not just setting aside money, you are exercising a muscle that grows stronger each time you use it. When you choose to pack lunch instead of buying it, you are not just saving $5, you are reinforcing the habit of conscious choice over unconscious spending. The beauty of small daily levers lies in their invisibility to others and their inevitability to you. While your neighbors see no dramatic change in your circumstances day by day, the forces you set in motion work silently in your favor. Each time you choose the smaller expense over the larger one, you redirect money toward your future. Each time you invest rather than spend, you plant seeds in tomorrow's garden. Each time you delay a purchase to consider whether you truly need it, you strengthen your capacity for wise judgment. These small actions compound in ways that defy common sense. The person who saves $50 each month for 20 years accumulates not just $12,000 in principal, but the additional thousands earned through patient investment of those monthly deposits. The individual who chooses to walk rather than take a taxi repeated 500 times over several years, saves not only the fair money but also builds the physical strength and mental discipline that serve them in countless other ways. Consider the profound difference between the person who spends every dollar they earn and the person who consciously saves just 10%. In the beginning, their lifestyles appear nearly identical. The spender buys the coffee. The saver buys the coffee 90% of the time. The spender takes the vacation. The saver takes a slightly less expensive vacation. But as months turn to years, an invisible gap begins to open. The saver accumulates reserves, options, and peace of mind, while the spender remains forever dependent on their next paycheck. The most powerful small levers cost nothing but awareness. Reading the price carefully before you buy. Pausing to ask whether this purchase moves you toward your goals or away from them. Checking your account balance not to worry about it, but to stay conscious of the relationship between your choices and your circumstances. These tiny acts of attention create massive changes in your financial trajectory over time. Your daily relationship with small amounts of money teaches you how to handle large amounts wisely. The person who treats a $10 bill carelessly will treat a $10,000 windfall carelessly. The individual who makes conscious choices about small purchases develops the judgment to make wise decisions about major investments. Every dollar you handle is a practice session for the larger sums that will come your way as your wealth grows. What makes small daily levers so powerful is that they operate below the threshold of difficulty. Anyone can save a dollar. Anyone can choose the less expensive option occasionally. Anyone can wait one extra day before making a purchase. These actions require no special talent, no advanced education, no lucky circumstances. They demand only the recognition that small choices, repeated consistently, shape your entire financial destiny. The person who masters small daily levers discovers something wonderful. Wealth becomes automatic. Your habits carry you toward prosperity without constant effort or decision-making. Your routines generate positive results while you focus your conscious attention on other important areas of your life. You begin earning money in your sleep through investments made with savings accumulated through hundreds of small, conscious choices. You are not someone who waits for large opportunities to begin building wealth. You are someone who recognizes that every day presents dozens of small levers waiting to be pulled in your favor. You understand that the path to financial independence is walked one step at a time, not leaped in a single bound. You know that the habits you practice with small amounts of money today prepare you to manage the larger sums that tomorrow will bring. What small lever will you pull today that your future self will thank you for? 6. The law of attention. A master photographer once said that the camera does not take pictures, attention does. The lens merely captures what the photographer has already seen, focused upon, and framed with deliberate care. In the same way, your mind does not create wealth by accident. It builds exactly what you train it to see, day after day, through the steady discipline of your attention. Most people scatter their mental energy like leaves in the wind. They wake thinking about bills, spend their lunch break worrying about expenses, and fall asleep calculating what they lack. Without realizing it, they have trained their most powerful faculty, their attention, to magnify scarcity, and the mind, being faithful to its training, delivers more of what it has been taught to see. But there exists a law as reliable as gravity itself. What you consistently give your attention to grows in your life. This law works whether you understand it or not, whether you believe in it or not, and whether you use it consciously or unconsciously. The question is not whether this law is operating in your life, it always is. The question is whether you are directing it toward wealth or allowing it to drift toward lack. Consider two men who work in the same office building. One walks through the lobby each morning and notices every sign of economic struggle, the empty retail spaces, the worn carpet, the tired faces of people worried about money. His attention, without his knowing it, searches for and finds evidence that confirms his belief that times are hard and opportunities are scarce. The other man walks through that same lobby and notices different details: the steady stream of people conducting business, the new shops opening, the conversations about projects and possibilities. His attention has been trained to seek evidence of activity, growth, and opportunity. Both men see accurately. Both men are telling the truth about what they observe. but they are directing their attention toward different aspects of the same reality. Within 6 months, their financial lives begin to mirror what they have been seeing. The first man finds himself more cautious, more worried, and less likely to recognize chances for advancement. The second finds himself more alert to possibilities, more confident in his decisions, and more likely to take the small actions that compound into larger gains. Their outer circumstances reflect the inner focus they have practiced every day. This is why wealthy people often seem to have an almost magical ability to spot opportunities that others miss. They have not been blessed with special sight. They have trained their ordinary attention to look for specific things. Where others see problems, they have taught themselves to see potential solutions. Where others see competition, they see market demand. Where others see risk, they see the price of possibility. You can begin training your attention toward wealth immediately. The practice is simple, but it requires the same consistency as building any other strength. Start each day by looking for one piece of evidence that opportunities exist in your world. This could be a business thriving in your neighborhood, a skill you possess that others would pay for, or a problem you notice that represents a need someone could fill. Throughout your day, practice catching your attention when it drifts toward scarcity. You do not need to fight these thoughts or pretend they are not real. Simply notice when your mind is focusing on what you lack and gently redirect it toward what is possible. This is not positive thinking, it is attention training. Before sleep, review your day for one example of value being created somewhere in your experience. Perhaps you witnessed excellent service that made someone's day better, or you noticed a business solving a problem efficiently, or you saw someone using their talents to earn an honest living. Train your mind to end each day having noticed that value is being created and exchanged all around you. This daily practice slowly shifts the filter through which you see your world. Your mind begins to notice things it previously overlooked. You start to see openings where you once saw only walls. You begin to recognize the small chances that, when acted upon consistently, compound into the larger opportunities that build wealth. As you strengthen this discipline, you become a person who naturally recognizes value and possibility. Your attention, once scattered and undirected, becomes a focused tool that seeks and finds the raw materials from which fortunes are built. You stop waiting for luck to deliver opportunities to you and start creating opportunities through the intentional use of your awareness. The wealth that flows from this practice is not just financial. When you train your attention toward abundance, you begin to notice the richness that already exists in your relationships, your skills, and your daily experience. You become someone who sees wealth in all its forms, and this inner abundance inevitably expresses itself in outer prosperity. What will you train your attention to seek and find in the hours that remain in this day? 7. Habits over willpower. Picture two men walking the same mountain path. The first climbs with fierce determination, muscles straining, breathing hard, pushing himself forward by sheer force of will. The second walks with steady rhythm, breath calm, feet finding their natural pace. By evening, the first man sits exhausted halfway up the slope, while the second reaches the summit with energy to spare. This is the difference between building wealth through willpower and building wealth through habit. Most people approach money like the first climber. They make dramatic resolutions, force themselves into extreme budgets, and rely on bursts of motivation to carry them toward their financial goals. For a time, this approach seems to work. They save aggressively, cut expenses ruthlessly, and feel the satisfaction of progress. But willpower is like a muscle that grows tired with use. Eventually, the force weakens. Old patterns return. The dramatic progress stops, and often reverses entirely. The wealthy understand a different truth. What you do automatically shapes your destiny more powerfully than what you do occasionally with great effort. Your habits are the quiet architects of your fortune. They work while you sleep, operate when your emotions fluctuate, and continue building even when motivation fails. A habit requires no decision, burns no mental energy, and faces no internal resistance. It simply is like breathing or walking. Consider the power of automaticity in wealth building. The person who habitually saves 10% of every dollar earned will accumulate more over a lifetime than someone who occasionally saves 30% when inspired. The individual who routinely reads for 30 minutes about money and investing will eventually surpass the person who attends weekend seminars but learns nothing between events. The one who automatically reviews their expenses each week will spot problems and opportunities that escape the person who conducts yearly financial audits with great fanfare. Habits compound not just your money, but your capacity to handle money wisely. Each time you perform a wealth-building action without internal struggle, you strengthen the neural pathways that make future wealth-building actions easier. You become the kind of person for whom smart financial choices feel natural rather than forced. This is why the wealthy seem to make money effortlessly while others struggle. It is not that they possess superior willpower or constant motivation. They have simply programmed automatic responses that serve their financial growth. Their habits carry them toward wealth even when their conscious mind is focused elsewhere. The transformation from willpower to habit follows a predictable pattern. First comes the conscious decision you choose a specific action that serves your wealth. Next comes the period of installation, where you repeat this action daily until resistance fades. Then arrives the breakthrough moment when the action becomes automatic, requiring no mental effort or emotional energy. Finally, the habit begins compounding its results, creating momentum that accelerates your progress. To harness this principle, begin with the smallest possible wealth-building action that you can perform every single day without fail. Perhaps you save $1 daily, or read one page about investing, or track one expense. The specific action matters less than the consistency. Your goal is not impressive results in the first week, but automatic behavior that continues for years. Choose a trigger, something that happens naturally in your day, and attach your new habit immediately after it. When you pour your morning coffee, immediately write down yesterday's largest expense. When you check your mail, immediately put any loose change into a savings jar. When you turn off your bedroom light, immediately think of one way you created value for others that day. As the action becomes automatic, you can gradually expand it. The daily dollar becomes $5. The single page becomes a chapter. The simple expense tracking becomes a complete financial review. But you expand only after the current level feels completely effortless. You are not building wealth through force. You are becoming a person whose daily rhythms naturally generate wealth. You are creating a life where the right financial actions happen automatically, consistently, and without internal struggle. The person who masters this principle discovers something remarkable. Wealth begins to feel inevitable rather than uncertain. When your habits align with abundance, abundance becomes your natural destination. What small action could you begin tomorrow that would quietly build your fortune if repeated every day for the next 10 years? 8. Enough. And more. Video 200. The richest person you know may not be the one with the most money. Look closely at those who seem blessed with abundance, and you will notice something curious. They carry themselves with a quiet satisfaction, as if they already possess what they need. Yet these same people often continue to create and accumulate wealth with remarkable ease. They have discovered one of money's greatest secrets, the art of feeling enough while building more. Most people live trapped between two prisons of their own making. The first prison is scarcity, where no amount ever feels like enough. In this cell, a person earns more, but feels poorer, acquires more, but experiences less satisfaction. They chase wealth with desperate hunger, yet the more frantically they grab, the more it seems to slip away. The second prison is excess, where too much becomes a burden. Here, wealth loses its meaning, spending becomes careless, and money transforms from a tool into a master. Between these two extremes lies a place of profound power, the balance point where you can feel genuinely satisfied with what you have while calmly creating more. This is not a mathematical equation you solve once and forget. It is a daily choice, a way of being with money that requires both wisdom and practice. The person who masters this balance understands a truth that escapes both the desperate and the reckless. Satisfaction comes not from the amount you possess, but from your relationship with what you have. When you can look at your current circumstances and feel genuine gratitude for what exists, something shifts in your consciousness. The anxious energy that drives poor financial decisions dissolves. The fevered urgency that leads to bad investments calms. In this space of enough, your judgment becomes clear, your decisions become sound, and paradoxically, your wealth begins to grow with greater ease. This does not mean you become passive or stop striving. The feeling of enough is not the same as settling for less. Instead, it becomes the foundation from which you build more. When you are not driven by desperate need, you can wait for the right opportunities. When you are not afraid of losing what you have, you can take calculated risks that fear would prevent. When you feel abundant rather than scarce, you make decisions from a place of strength rather than weakness. Think of a master craftsman at work. He does not rush anxiously toward completion, worried that his current piece is not good enough. Instead, he works with careful attention, satisfied with each stroke of his tool, yet constantly improving his technique. His contentment with the present moment does not stop him from creating something better, it enables it. The quality of his work improves precisely because he is not driven by frantic dissatisfaction. Your relationship with money can develop the same quality. Each day, you can practice appreciating what you already have, while taking thoughtful steps toward what you want to create. This appreciation is not about convincing yourself that less is more or that wanting wealth is wrong. It is about recognizing the abundance that exists in this moment, while keeping your vision clear about where you are heading. The daily practice begins with simple awareness. Before you check your account balance, before you think about what you need to earn or buy or save, take a moment to acknowledge what you already possess. Not just money, but all forms of wealth. Your health, your abilities, your relationships, your knowledge, your opportunities. Let yourself feel genuinely grateful for these gifts. This is not a mental exercise, but an emotional experience. When gratitude becomes real in your body, scarcity begins to lose its grip on your mind. From this foundation of enough, you can then turn your attention toward more. But now your pursuit has a different quality. You are not running from poverty. You are walking toward prosperity. You are not grabbing desperately. You are building deliberately. The actions you take come from vision and choice rather than fear and compulsion. In practical terms, this balance shows up in how you handle daily money decisions. You can feel satisfied with a simple meal while saving for a better kitchen. You can appreciate your current home while planning for something larger. You can be grateful for your present income while developing skills that will increase it. The key is that both feelings exist at once, contentment with now and excitement about later. This balance also protects you from the extremes that destroy wealth. When you feel enough, you do not overspend from emotional emptiness. When you remain focused on more, you do not become complacent about growing what you have. You avoid both the recklessness of never having enough and the stagnation of having too much to care. You are learning to hold two truths simultaneously. You have enough to be grateful, and you have the power to create more. You become someone who can enjoy wealth without being enslaved by it, who can pursue more without being driven by lack. In this balance, money becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool that serves your highest purposes, rather than a master that controls your daily emotions. How will you practice feeling enough today, while taking one small step toward creating more? 9. The Steward's Mind. There stands in every city a great library, filled with the wisdom of ages. Books worth thousands of dollars line the shelves, yet they are freely given to any who wish to learn. The librarian does not own these treasures, yet she protects them as if they were her own children. She guides them to those who need them most, ensures they return safely, and watches over their condition with careful eyes. Though the books pass through her hands daily, she never confuses stewardship with ownership. In this simple distinction lies one of the most powerful secrets of lasting wealth. The person who learns to think like a steward rather than like an owner or a consumer discovers that money begins to seek them out. It flows toward those who can be trusted with its care, and away from those who would waste or worship it. You see this principle at work in every generation. The lottery winner, who treats sudden wealth like a personal playground, often finds himself broke within years. The inheritance that passes to children who see money as their right rather than their responsibility vanishes like morning mist. Yet the modest shopkeeper who tends her earnings like a gardener tends his plants often builds a fortune that outlasts the flashier wealth around her. What makes the difference? The steward's mind operates on three simple principles that transform how money responds to you. First, the steward knows that wealth is not owned, but guided. When you truly understand this, you stop asking, "What can my money do for me?" and start asking, "What can I do with this money?" This shift in perspective changes everything. You become someone who can be trusted with more because you do not confuse having money with being entitled to waste it. Second, the steward treats money as a living force that must be directed toward useful purposes. Just as a river needs banks to give it power and direction, money needs the boundaries of wisdom and purpose to serve you well. Without these boundaries, it spreads out and disappears into the sand of countless small wants and impulses. Third, the steward understands that money multiplies when it serves life, and dies when it serves only ego. The dollars you spend to feed your vanity or impress others become dead money gone forever. But the dollars you direct toward building something larger than yourself return to you multiplied. They bring friends. This is why the wealthy often seem so careful with small expenses while generous with large investments. They are not being cheap, they are being faithful stewards. They know that careless spending on trivial things trains the mind to treat all money carelessly, but conscious investment in growth and value trains the mind to see money as a tool for creating more life and opportunity. The steward's mind also recognizes that wealth carries responsibility. Not the heavy burden of guilt, but the light responsibility of choice. When you have money, you have the power to create or destroy, to build up or tear down, to serve life or serve death. The steward chooses consciously. You can begin developing the steward's mind today with simple practices that cost nothing but yield everything. Before you spend any amount, pause and ask yourself, am I using this money, or is it using me? Notice the difference between spending that feels driven and spending that feels chosen. When you receive money, take a moment to acknowledge it as a trust before you decide how to direct it. This small ritual shifts your relationship from ownership to stewardship instantly. Keep a portion of every dollar that comes to you, not because you are greedy, but because you are faithful. A steward who gives away everything entrusted to him is not generous, he is irresponsible. The money you keep and invest wisely today becomes the foundation for greater service tomorrow. Watch how you speak about money, both to yourself and others. The steward speaks of money with respect but not reverence, with care but not fear. You do not boast about what you have or complain about what you lack. You simply tend what has been entrusted to you with quiet faithfulness. As you practice thinking like a steward, you will notice something remarkable happening. Money begins to feel safer in your hands. Opportunities start appearing that were invisible before. People begin bringing you investment ideas and business proposals because they sense you can be trusted with resources. You become the kind of person who attracts wealth not because you chase it, but because you can be counted on to guide it well. You join the ancient line of stewards who understand that true ownership comes only to those who first learn to serve something greater than themselves. The money in your pocket right now is not really yours. It is simply under your care for a time. How you tend it in the coming days will determine whether more wealth seeks you out or flows away to find a more faithful steward. What would change about your daily choices if you truly believed that your money was watching how you treat it? 10. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself. Pay yourself first. The carpenter builds his own house last. The baker goes hungry while others feast on fresh bread. The tailor walks in worn clothes while dressing others in fine garments. This is the curious tragedy of those who serve everyone but themselves. They create abundance for the world yet live in scarcity. Your money follows the same pattern. Each dollar you earn faces a dozen demands the moment it touches your hands. Bills reach for it. Desires whisper for it. Emergencies grab for it. Family needs it. Friends borrow it. The world conspires to pull every cent away from you before you can claim even a portion for your future. But there exists one simple act that breaks this pattern forever. You pay yourself first. The principle that changes everything. When you pay yourself first, You reverse the natural order of money. Instead of saving what remains after everyone else takes their share, you take your share before anyone else receives theirs. This is not selfishness, it is wisdom. This is not greed, it is self-respect. This is not denying others, it is honoring your future. Most people approach their money like passengers on a sinking ship, frantically bailing water but never plugging the hole. They work harder, earn more, yet still arrive at month's end with empty pockets. They promise themselves they will save next month. When things are easier, when the bills are smaller, when income is larger. But next month never comes, because the pattern never changes. The person who pays themselves first operates by a different law. Before rent is paid, before groceries are bought, before luxuries are considered, a portion, no matter how small, goes to their future self. This is not the money left over. This is the money set aside first, treated as the most important bill that must be paid. Consider the wisdom hidden in this habit. When you pay yourself first, you declare that your future matters as much as your present. You acknowledge that the person you will become 10 years from now deserves consideration today. You recognize that true security comes not from spending everything you earn, but from keeping something you earn. The amount matters far less than the habit. Whether you keep 1 coin from every 10 or $1 from every 100, the act itself creates a fundamental shift in how you relate to money. You stop being merely a channel through which money flows to others and become a person whom money serves. This single habit contains profound psychology. When you consistently keep a portion of your earnings, you prove to yourself that you control money rather than money controlling you. You develop the muscle of delayed gratification. You build evidence that you are capable of thinking beyond today's immediate wants. With each payment to yourself, your sense of financial confidence grows stronger, making the habit yours. Start where you are, with what you have. If you earn $10, keep 1. If you earn 100, keep 10. If you can only manage to keep 1%, keep 1%. The size of the amount is less important than the certainty of the action. Make this payment automatic, not optional. Decide your percentage once, then apply it without negotiation or exception. When income arrives, immediately set aside your portion before you consider any other use for the money. Treat this payment like you would treat paying for food or shelter, as essential, not optional. Keep this money separate and untouchable for everyday expenses. Open a different account if necessary. Put it in a different location. Create whatever barrier prevents you from casually spending what you have deliberately saved. This money serves your future, not today's impulses. Watch what happens to your mind as this habit takes root. You will find yourself becoming more thoughtful about purchases. You will discover ways to live well on slightly less. You will feel a growing sense of control and confidence about money that no amount of income alone can provide. Most important, you will begin to see yourself differently as a person who builds rather than just spends, who thinks ahead rather than just reacting to now. The person you become, through the daily practice of paying yourself first, you become someone who honors their future. You develop the characteristics that wealth requires: patience, self-control, long-term thinking, and respect for money as a tool rather than a master. You discover that living on slightly less than you earn is not sacrifice, it is freedom. You learn that today's small discipline creates tomorrow's large options. You realize that every dollar you keep is a vote for the life you want to build rather than just the life you are living now. Each time you pay yourself first, you practice the fundamental skill of wealth, choosing your long-term good over your short-term wants. You prove to yourself that you are not a victim of circumstance, but an architect of your future. You transform from someone who hopes things will get better to someone who actively makes things better. You become a person for whom wealth is not a distant dream but an inevitable result of daily choice. You join the ranks of those who understand that fortune belongs not to those who earn the most, but to those who keep the most of what they earn. When you consistently pay yourself first, will you discover that true wealth begins not with how much comes to you, but with how much stays with you. 11. Delayed, not denied. A master craftsman stands before 2 blocks of marble. One appears smooth and perfect, ready to be carved into a quick statue that will bring immediate payment. The other is rough, flawed, requiring months of patient work before its beauty can emerge. The apprentice reaches for the easy stone. The master chooses the difficult one. This choice between the quick reward and the lasting masterpiece separates those who remain poor from those who become wealthy. The difference lies not in what they want, but in when they are willing to want it. When you can calmly delay a lesser pleasure today for a greater gain tomorrow, you cross the line between spending and building. This principle appears simple on its surface, yet it cuts to the heart of why some people create fortunes while others remain trapped in cycles of financial struggle. The wealthy understand something profound. Every dollar has a choice between serving today or serving tomorrow. Those who consistently choose tomorrow find that tomorrow eventually arrives bearing gifts. Most people confuse delayed gratification with self-denial. They see it as punishment, as giving up something good. This misunderstanding keeps them poor. True wealth thinking recognizes that delay is not denial, it is direction. You are not giving up the pleasure. You are choosing when to receive it and in what form. The person who delays buying a new car today may drive a better car tomorrow. The person who delays the expensive vacation this year may own the vacation home next decade. The magic lies in understanding that money grows when you give it time. Every dollar saved becomes more than a dollar when it is allowed to work and multiply. Every dollar spent immediately becomes less than a dollar because it produces no future value. The wealthy think in terms of what money can become, not just what it can buy today. They see $100 not as an expensive dinner, but as the seed of $1,000 given enough seasons to grow. This principle reveals itself most clearly in the small, daily choices that seem insignificant but compound over time. The coffee purchased every morning appears harmless because the amount is small. Yet this same money, invested consistently, becomes substantial wealth over the years. The wealthy person does not necessarily avoid all small luxuries, but they make these choices consciously, understanding the true cost. They ask not just, "Can I afford this today?" but "What else could this money become?" The deeper wisdom lies in recognizing that the ability to delay gratification is actually a form of power. Power over your impulses, power over your circumstances, power over your future. Each time you choose the greater reward over the immediate one, you strengthen this power. You become someone who controls their desires rather than being controlled by them. This shift in identity changes everything about how money flows in your life. Yet this principle demands balance and wisdom in its application. Extreme delay becomes another form of poverty, the poverty of never enjoying the fruits of your labor. The goal is not to deny yourself indefinitely, but to choose your indulgences carefully and time them wisely. Some pleasures are worth their cost. Some immediate needs cannot and should not be delayed. The art lies in distinguishing between genuine necessity and manufactured urgency, between meaningful pleasure and empty consumption. You develop this wisdom through practice. Start with small delays, waiting a day before making an unplanned purchase, choosing the less expensive option when the difference is minimal, putting aside money before spending rather than hoping some remains afterward. Each successful delay builds your confidence and strengthens your ability to make larger delays when greater opportunities arise. The wealthy understand that delayed gratification compounds like interest. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes. The easier it becomes, the more you practice it. Eventually, this way of thinking becomes automatic. You find yourself naturally considering the future value of present choices. You begin to see immediate gratification as expensive and delayed gratification as profitable. As you develop this habit, you discover something remarkable. The pleasure of building often exceeds the pleasure of spending. There is deep satisfaction in watching your savings grow, in seeing your investments flourish, in knowing that your future self will thank your present self for the choices you make today. The delayed reward often tastes sweeter than the immediate one because it carries the additional flavor of accomplishment and wisdom. You are not someone who gives up good things. You are someone who chooses better things. You are not depriving yourself. You are providing for yourself. You are not missing out on today. You are creating a tomorrow worth having. When you consistently choose the greater reward over the immediate one, what kind of future are you building for yourself? 12. The value of learning. A master craftsman stands before two apprentices. To the first, he offers a bag of gold coins. To the second, he offers to teach the secrets of his craft. The first apprentice takes the gold and walks away wealthy for a season. The second chooses knowledge and becomes wealthy for a lifetime. Which apprentice understands the true nature of riches? Most people treat learning like a chore to be finished, not a treasure to be gathered. They study until they graduate, then close their minds as if knowledge were a burden instead of the greatest investment they could ever make. But those who build lasting wealth know a secret that changes everything. Your mind is not just your most valuable asset. It is the only asset that can never be taken from you, never lose its value, and always has room to grow. Consider the difference between two people who start with nothing. The first focuses only on making money. They work hard, save what they can, and slowly build a modest sum. But when circumstances change, when their industry shifts or their job disappears, they find themselves lost and vulnerable. Their wealth was built on sand. The second person takes a different path. Yes, they work and save, but they also invest in their mind every single day. They read about money, study successful people, learn new skills, and constantly expand their understanding of how value is created in the world. When circumstances change, they adapt. When opportunities arise, they recognize them. When problems appear, they solve them. Their wealth was built on bedrock. The habit of daily learning does something remarkable. It compounds faster than money itself. When you put $1 in the bank, it might grow by a few percentage points each year. When you put knowledge in your mind, it can multiply your earning power by factors you never imagined. A new skill might double your income. A deeper understanding of human nature might transform how you serve others. A fresh insight about money might change how you handle every dollar for the rest of your life. You become wealthy in your mind long before you become wealthy in your bank account. Every book you read about success, every conversation with someone wiser than yourself, every moment you spend understanding how wealth really works. These are not just activities. 117 Seth, 117s, 117s. They are investments that pay dividends forever. The person who reads about money for 30 minutes each day will know more about building wealth in a year than most people learn in a lifetime. But here lies the trap that catches so many. They mistake information for transformation. They collect facts like trophies, but never change their actions. True learning is not about knowing more, it is about becoming more. When you truly learn something about wealth, you do not just understand it with your mind. You apply it with your hands. You live it with your life. The wealthy understand that learning never ends because the world never stops changing. New opportunities emerge. Old methods become obsolete. The person who stops learning starts dying, financially and otherwise. But the person who makes learning a daily habit stays young in their thinking, fresh in their approach, and ready for whatever comes. Think of your mind as a garden that grows more valuable each season. Every day, you can plant seeds of knowledge that will bloom into opportunities. You can water them with practice and attention. You can harvest insights that feed your growing wealth, or you can let weeds of ignorance and outdated thinking choke out your potential. The choice you make about learning shapes everything else. When you commit to growing your mind daily, you gain something more precious than money. You gain the ability to create money. You develop the judgment to keep it. You acquire the wisdom to use it well. Your knowledge becomes a spring that never runs dry, feeding streams of income throughout your life. Start where you are with what you have. Read one page about money each morning. Study the habits of people who have what you want. Listen to someone who knows more than you do. Ask questions that reveal how value is created. Make learning about wealth as natural as eating or sleeping. You are not just acquiring information, you are building the mental foundation upon which all your future prosperity will rest. You become someone for whom wealth is not a lucky accident, but a natural result of an educated mind consistently applied to the problems and opportunities of life. What will you choose to learn today that your future wealthy self will thank you for tomorrow? 13. Circulation, not hoarding. There is a secret about money that separates those who build lasting wealth from those who struggle despite their best efforts. It has nothing to do with how much you earn or save. It concerns something far more fundamental: how money moves through your life. Watch the wealthy closely, and you will notice something curious. They hold money lightly, yet it stays with them. They spend freely on what serves their purpose, yet their accounts grow. They give generously, yet somehow always have more to give. This is not magic or luck. It is the natural result of understanding that money, like water, stays fresh only when it flows. The person who hoards money kills its power. The person who wastes it destroys its potential. But the person who learns to circulate money with wisdom discovers that wealth is not about accumulation, it is about intelligent flow. Most people misunderstand the nature of money. They see it as a thing to be captured and held tight, like sand squeezed in a closed fist. The harder they squeeze, the more it slips away. They save out of fear, spend out of guilt, and invest out of desperation. Money becomes stagnant in their lives because they treat it as an end rather than a means. But money is not meant to sit still. It is meant to move, to work, to create value as it passes from hand to hand. Every dollar you earn carries within it the potential to become $10 if you guide its movement with purpose. Every dollar you save gains power when it knows its destination. Every dollar you spend votes for the kind of world you want to create. Consider the difference between a pond and a river. A pond holds water in one place. Without fresh flow, it becomes stagnant, breeding mosquitoes and algae. But a river moves constantly, carrying life to everything it touches. The same water that flows past you today will nourish fields 100 miles away tomorrow. It gives and receives in an endless cycle that benefits all. Your money can be like that river. When you save with purpose, you are not hoarding. You are creating a reservoir that will flow toward your future goals. When you spend with consciousness, you are not wasting. You are directing value toward what truly serves your life. When you invest wisely, you are not gambling. You are channeling money toward activities that create value for others while building wealth for yourself. The habit of conscious circulation begins with understanding that every financial decision is a choice about direction, not just amount. Before you save $1, ask where it is flowing. Before you spend $1, consider what you are watering with it. Before you invest $1, examine whether it will create genuine value or merely chase promises. This is why wealthy people often seem to spend more freely than those with less. They are not careless with money, they are strategic about its movement. They understand that money held too tightly becomes dead weight, while money directed with purpose becomes a multiplying force. They save boldly for clear goals, spend generously on what truly serves them, and invest consistently in opportunities that create value for others. Start practicing conscious circulation today. When you save money, know exactly where it is going and why. Is it flowing toward your emergency fund, your next opportunity, your family's security? Let it move with purpose, not sit in paralyzed indecision. When you spend money, choose consciously. Are you directing it towards something that truly adds value to your life, or are you simply letting it drain away out of habit? When you invest money, ensure it is flowing toward activities that create real value in the world, not merely chasing the promise of easy returns. Give money room to breathe in your life. Do not grip it so tightly that you suffocate its potential. Do not let it pool and stagnate in accounts without purpose. Guide its flow, but do not try to control every eddy and current. Money that moves with wisdom always finds its way back to you, multiplied. Practice the habit of conscious generosity, not the kind that depletes you, but the kind that recognizes abundance as a flowing force. When you give from a sense of overflow rather than obligation, you signal to yourself and the world that you are part of abundance, not scarcity. Money given wisely creates more value than money hoarded fearfully. You become wealthy not by stopping money's flow, but by learning to direct it wisely. You are not a dam that blocks the current, but a channel that guides it toward purpose. Every conscious choice about money's movement in your life strengthens your identity as someone who understands wealth's deeper nature. The person who learns to circulate money with wisdom discovers that wealth is not about accumulation but about stewardship. You become the kind of person through whom money flows to create value for yourself, for others, for the world. You save with purpose, spend with consciousness, and invest with wisdom. Money trusts you with its movement because you honor both its power and its purpose. As you lie in bed tonight, considering the money that flowed through your hands today, ask yourself this: did your financial choices today direct money toward your highest purposes, or did you let it move without consciousness through your life? 14. Earn in alignment. Most people live split lives. They are one person at work and another at home. They earn money doing things that drain their soul, then wonder why wealth feels heavy in their hands. They chase paychecks that require them to become smaller, not larger. This is the tragedy of misaligned earning money gained at the cost of the very person who earned it. But there exists a different path, one where earning and becoming move in the same direction. When your work draws upon your natural strengths and honors your deepest values, something remarkable happens. The effort to make money becomes the same effort that makes you stronger, wiser, and more capable. You are no longer trading time for dollars. You are trading growth for abundance. This is the principle of earning in alignment. The deepest wealth comes from aligning your work with your strengths and conscience, so that earning more also means becoming more. Most people think they must choose between doing what they love and making good money. This is a false choice born of small thinking. The person who aligns their earning with their nature discovers that excellence flows naturally when you work within your strengths. And excellence, consistently delivered, always finds its reward. Consider the craftsman who loves working with his hands. When he builds furniture, he is not merely exchanging labor for payment. He is expressing his nature while solving problems for others. Each piece he creates makes him more skilled, more confident, more valuable. His earning and his becoming are the same process. Contrast this with the same man forced into a job that demands only compliance. His paycheck might be steady, but his spirit withers. He earns money, but loses himself. The aligned earner understands that your strengths are not accidents, they are assets waiting to be developed. You were born with certain natural abilities because the world needs what you can uniquely provide. When you ignore these gifts and force yourself into work that fights your nature, you rob both yourself and those you might serve. But alignment is more than just matching skills to tasks. It requires that your conscience remains clear as you earn. Money gained through deception, exploitation, or harm carries a hidden cost. It corrupts the mind that earned it and rarely stays where it is not welcome. The person who earns in alignment can receive their income with clean hands and a clear heart. This does not mean you must love every moment of your work or that earning will always be easy. All valuable work involves challenge, frustration, and moments of doubt. But when your earning aligns with your core nature, these difficulties strengthen you rather than diminish you. You face problems knowing they will make you more capable, not more bitter. The path to aligned earning begins with honest self-examination. You must first discover what you naturally do well and what you deeply care about. Most people avoid this examination because they fear what they might find. They worry their true interests are not practical or their real strengths are not valuable. This fear keeps them trapped in work that slowly kills their spirit. Start by observing yourself without judgment. What activities make time disappear? What problems do you enjoy solving? What accomplishments fill you with genuine pride? When others seek your help, what do they usually ask you to do? These patterns reveal your natural strengths, the areas where your energy multiplies rather than depletes. Next, examine your values. What principles guide your decisions when no one is watching? What kind of impact do you want your work to have on the world? What would make you proud to tell your children how you earned your living? These questions reveal the boundaries within which your earning must stay to keep your conscience clear. Once you understand your strengths and values, you can begin moving your earning toward alignment. This rarely happens overnight. Most people must make gradual transitions, developing their natural abilities while still meeting their current obligations. But each small step toward alignment increases both your earning power and your inner satisfaction. You might start by volunteering your natural strengths in your current role. The accountant who loves teaching might offer to train new employees. The manager who excels at solving complex problems might volunteer for the most challenging projects. These actions develop your gifts while demonstrating their value to others. As your confidence grows, you can seek roles that better match your nature. This might mean changing positions within your current organization, switching industries, or eventually starting your own enterprise. Each move should bring you closer to work that draws upon your strengths and honors your values. The person who earns in alignment discovers that work becomes a form of wealth building that goes beyond the paycheck. Each day develops your capabilities, expands your reputation, and deepens your expertise. You are not just earning money, you are building the person who will earn even more money in the future. You become someone for whom wealth feels natural because it flows from authentic expression rather than forced performance. Your earning capacity grows as you grow. Your income reflects not just your effort, but your character, your skills, and your commitment to excellence. This is earning that can be sustained for decades without burning out because it feeds your spirit rather than depleting it. When you align your earning with your authentic self, you discover that the wealthiest life is not the one with the biggest paycheck, but the one where making money and making yourself better become the same worthy pursuit. What would change in your life if your next dollar earned also made you a more valuable person? 15. Simple systems. Quiet power. Walk into the workshop of any master craftsman and you will see something remarkable. The tools are few, but each one serves its purpose perfectly. The workbench is clear. Every instrument has its place. There is no waste, no confusion, no searching for what is needed. In the hands of this master, 3 simple tools accomplish what others cannot achieve with 30. Your relationship with money follows the same principle. The person who masters wealth does not do so through complexity, but through the quiet power of simple systems that work without fail, day after day, year after year. Most people fail with money not because they lack knowledge, but because they chase complicated strategies they cannot maintain. They read about sophisticated investment methods, create elaborate budgets with dozens of categories, and design financial plans that require perfect execution to succeed. When life inevitably disrupts their perfect system, they abandon it entirely and return to old patterns of confusion. But the person who builds lasting wealth understands a different truth. They know that a simple system followed consistently will always defeat a perfect system followed occasionally. They choose clarity over cleverness, and in doing so, they harness one of the most powerful forces in the universe: the compound effect of small, repeated actions. Consider the contrast between 2 approaches to money. The first person creates a detailed budget, tracking every expense to the penny. They have categories for everything, spreadsheets that calculate to the decimal, and plans that require them to make complex decisions every day. This system is impressive to look at, but it demands constant attention and perfect discipline. After a few weeks or months, it becomes a burden. Eventually, it gets abandoned. The second person follows 3 simple rules. Save a fixed percentage of every dollar that comes in. Keep living expenses below a clear limit, and invest the savings in the same proven way every month. This system requires 3 decisions, not 300. It can be followed when busy, when tired, when traveling, or when facing the unexpected challenges that life brings to everyone. Which person do you think will have more money in 10 years? Simplicity in money systems creates something that complexity cannot: sustainability. When your financial plan is simple enough to follow without thinking, it becomes automatic. When it becomes automatic, it requires no willpower to maintain. And when it requires no willpower, it can continue through any season of your life. The wealthy understand that money responds to consistency more than intensity. They know that saving $50 every week for 20 years creates more wealth than saving $2,000 once and then struggling to repeat it. They choose the path of steady progress over dramatic gestures. This principle extends beyond just saving. Simple systems work for every aspect of money. When you spend, have a clear rule about what you buy and what you do not. When you invest, choose methods you understand and can stick with through both good times and difficult ones. When you earn, focus on doing a few things excellently rather than many things adequately. The power in simple systems comes not from the individual actions, but from their repetition. Like a river that carves the deepest canyon not through force but through persistence, your simple money habits gradually reshape your entire financial landscape. What seems small in any single day becomes transformational over time. You make this principle practical by designing your money life around 3 core systems. One for keeping money, one for spending money, and one for growing money. Each system should be simple enough that you could explain it to a child and follow it when your life becomes complicated. For keeping money, decide on a percentage of your income that you will save before any other decision gets made. Make this percentage realistic enough that you can maintain it, but significant enough that it builds your wealth over time. Set up your life so this saving happens automatically, requiring no daily decision from you. For spending money, establish a clear boundary for your living expenses. Know this number well, and commit to keeping your lifestyle within it, regardless of how much your income grows. This creates room for your wealth to expand, without your expenses consuming every gain. For growing money, choose investment methods that you understand and believe in for the long term. Avoid strategies that require you to make frequent decisions or perfect timing. Let time and compound growth do the work that your efforts cannot accomplish. These 3 systems, operating together, create something remarkable. They remove the daily stress and confusion that money brings to most people's lives. They eliminate the need to make countless small financial decisions that drain your mental energy. Most importantly, they ensure that your wealth grows steadily regardless of your mood, your circumstances, or your level of motivation on any given day. When you embrace simple systems, you become a different kind of person with money. You become someone who operates from calm certainty rather than anxious complexity. You develop the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your financial future is secure because your daily habits are building it automatically. You are not someone who needs complicated strategies to create wealth. You are someone who understands that the most powerful forces in nature operate through simple, consistent principles. You become the person who chooses the steady path over the dramatic one, knowing that quiet persistence builds fortunes that flash and drama cannot match. What 3 simple rules could guide every money decision you make from this day forward? 16. The company you keep. A master craftsman was once asked how he had built such a legendary reputation. His answer surprised those who expected tales of long hours and special techniques. "I chose my workshop carefully," he said. "I surrounded myself with tools that made precision natural, materials that demanded excellence, and fellow craftsmen whose standards would not let me settle for anything less than my best work." The people you spend your days with are not just companions, they are the invisible architects of your financial future. Every conversation shapes your thinking. Every shared belief becomes part of your own. Every standard they accept or reject quietly becomes a standard you live by. Your financial destiny bends, almost without your notice, toward the desires, habits, and expectations of those you allow closest to your daily life. This truth works in both directions with mathematical precision. Surround yourself with people who complain about money, and you will find yourself focusing on what you lack. Spend time with those who make excuses for their financial struggles, and you will discover new reasons why wealth is difficult. Keep company with people who believe the game is rigged against them, and you will see evidence everywhere that success belongs to others, not to you. But place yourself among people who save with discipline, and saving becomes normal. Walk with those who invest consistently, and investing stops feeling foreign. Listen to conversations about opportunities rather than obstacles, and your mind begins to spot possibilities others miss. The wealthy understand this principle completely. They know that mediocrity is contagious, but so is excellence. This influence operates below the level of conscious choice. You do not decide one day to lower your standards or abandon your financial goals. Instead, through hundreds of small interactions, your expectations gradually shift to match those around you. A comment here about how rich people are greedy. a laugh there about someone's crazy investment plan, a shared sigh about how normal people like us can never get ahead. These moments accumulate until they become your inner voice. The reverse transformation is equally powerful and just as subtle. When you hear conversations about creating value, your own thoughts turn toward contribution. When you witness someone choosing delayed gratification without drama, your own impulses grow stronger. When you spend time with people who speak of money as a tool for good rather than a source of evil, money loses its emotional charge and becomes simply another resource to manage wisely. Choose your inner circle as carefully as you would choose your investments, because they will influence your financial results just as surely. This does not mean you abandon old friends or judge others harshly. It means you become intentional about who has regular access to your thoughts, your dreams, and your daily habits. You protect your financial mindset the way you would protect any other valuable asset. Look for people who talk about money without shame or arrogance, those who see wealth as both achievable and responsible. Seek out those who have built something from nothing, who understand the power of small daily actions, who celebrate others' success instead of resenting it. Find companions who ask, "How can we solve this?" instead of "Why does this always happen to us?" Notice the conversations that surround you each day. Do they lift your vision or lower it? Do they make wealth feel possible or impossible? Do they focus on what can be controlled or what cannot? The quality of your daily conversations will predict the quality of your financial future with startling accuracy. When you cannot immediately change your environment, you can still protect your mindset. Read the words of those who have built lasting wealth. Study the principles that have created fortunes across generations. Fill your mind so completely with empowering ideas that temporary exposure to limiting beliefs cannot take root. But whenever possible, draw closer to people whose financial habits you admire and whose money conversations elevate your thinking. Let their standards become your standards. Let their normal become your normal. Let their quiet confidence about money become part of your own character. You become the average of the financial beliefs, habits, and expectations of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is not philosophy, it is observable reality. Your income, your savings rate, your investment choices, and your money conversations will all drift toward the middle of your social group unless you consciously guide them higher. Therefore, choose companions who make your wealth goals feel not only possible, but inevitable. You are not trying to use these relationships. You are trying to become worthy of them. You are raising your own standards to match theirs, contributing to their growth as they contribute to yours. Who are the 5 people whose financial conversations shape your daily thoughts? And what future are they quietly helping you create? 17. Seasons of wealth. Stand at the edge of any great forest and you witness a truth that eludes most people who struggle with money. The mightiest oak does not rage against winter's barren months. The farmer does not curse the spring rain because it delays his harvest. Each understands what few in the world of wealth comprehend. Prosperity, like all natural forces, moves in seasons. Those who learn to read these cycles and align their actions accordingly never panic when lean times arrive, for they know abundance will return to those who remain faithful to timeless principles. Most people treat money as though it should behave like a machine, predictable, constant, responding the same way to the same inputs day after day. When their income drops or expenses rise unexpectedly, they feel betrayed by forces they believe should remain steady. But wealth does not flow like clockwork. It ebbs and flows like tides, cycles like seasons, and those who master money learn to dance with these rhythms instead of fighting them. Consider the fundamental difference between 2 approaches to financial life. The first person expects their income to rise steadily each month, their investments to grow without interruption, and their financial plans to unfold exactly as projected. When reality disrupts these expectations, as it always does, they abandon their savings habits during tough months, panic when investments decline, and make desperate decisions that destroy years of careful building. The second person understands that some seasons favor earning while others favor learning. Some cycles reward bold action while others demand patient waiting. They build their financial life around this wisdom. During seasons of abundance, they save more aggressively, knowing leaner times will come. During periods of scarcity, they invest in skills and relationships, preparing for the next season of opportunity. They never mistake a difficult season for permanent failure, nor do they believe a profitable season will last forever. This seasonal thinking changes everything about how you handle money. You begin to see patterns that others miss. You notice when industries, investments, or opportunities are entering their spring phase full of potential but requiring patience. You recognize summer seasons when growth is rapid and you must harvest wisely. You prepare for autumn phases when you gather resources for coming challenges. And you endure winter periods with calm confidence, using the time to plan and prepare rather than worry and react. The wealthy throughout history have always understood these cycles. They buy when others are selling in panic, invest when opportunities appear barren, and exercise restraint when everyone around them is spending freely. This is not because they possess some mystical ability to predict the future, but because they have learned to think in seasons rather than moments. Your daily habits must reflect this seasonal wisdom. During abundant periods, you increase the percentage you save, recognizing that this season will not last forever. During lean periods, you maintain your essential wealth habits, even if you must reduce the amounts. You never abandon the practices that build wealth, just because temporary circumstances make them more difficult. This means preparing for seasons you cannot predict. You keep emergency funds not because you know what emergency will come, but because you know some emergency will eventually arrive. You continue learning and developing skills during prosperous times, not because your current success is threatened, but because future opportunities will require growth you cannot achieve overnight. The seasonal approach also teaches you patience with investments and long-term plans. Just as a farmer does not dig up seeds to check their progress, you do not constantly adjust your investment strategy based on short-term fluctuations. You plant wisely, tend consistently, and trust the process of growth that unfolds over seasons, not days. Practically, this wisdom shapes how you allocate resources throughout the year. You review your financial position quarterly, like a farmer assessing his land each season. You adjust your strategies based on longer cycles, not daily market movements. You build flexibility into your plans, knowing that rigid expectations break under the pressure of natural changes. You also learn to recognize personal seasons, times when your energy is high and earning potential peaks, and times when rest and reflection serve you better than aggressive action. Young people often live in the spring and summer of their earning power and must save for the autumn and winter of later life. Those in their prime earning years who forget this wisdom find themselves unprepared when their personal season changes. Most importantly, you develop the emotional stability that comes from expecting change rather than fearing it. You remain calm during market downturns because you understand they are winter seasons that always give way to spring. You avoid the euphoria that leads to poor decisions during boom times because you know summer always transitions to autumn. Through this lens, you begin to see your entire financial life differently. Setbacks become winter seasons that test your preparation and strengthen your character. Windfalls become summer harvests to be enjoyed but also preserved. The ups and downs that destroy others' financial lives become simply the natural rhythm within which you build lasting wealth. You are not a victim of financial seasons, you are a student of them. You become someone who reads the signs, respects the cycles, and aligns your actions with forces larger than your momentary desires. This is how you build wealth that endures through every season of life. When the next unexpected change arrives in your financial life, will you panic like someone caught unprepared by weather, or will you respond with the calm wisdom of someone who has learned to live in harmony with the eternal seasons of wealth? 18. Becoming the example. Most people believe wealth is something you have. They see it as an arrival point, a destination where you finally get to rest and enjoy the fruits of your labor. They imagine that once they accumulate enough money, their work with wealth is finished. This is why most fortunes disappear within a generation. True wealth is not something you have, it is something you become. And when you become wealth itself, when your very presence teaches others what is possible, you have reached the highest form of riches. You have become the example, the quiet power of living proof. The world is full of teachers who speak about wealth but do not embody it. They know the theories, but have not walked the path. Their words may inspire for a moment, but they lack the quiet authority that comes only from daily practice. You become different. You become someone whose life speaks louder than any lecture ever could. When people observe your habits, how you handle money, how you make decisions, how you stay calm in both plenty and want, they see living proof that wealth can be built through simple, faithful actions. This is not about showing off or flaunting your success. Quite the opposite. The person who has become the example carries their wealth lightly, like a master craftsman carries their tools with quiet confidence and no need to announce their skill. Your daily actions become a silent curriculum. The way you save a portion of every dollar that comes to you teaches those watching that wealth begins with keeping something for yourself. The way you delay a purchase to consider its true value shows others that impulse is the enemy of prosperity. The way you invest time in learning rather than only in earning demonstrates that the mind is the source of all riches. People notice. They may not say anything directly, but they observe how you live differently than those who complain about never having enough. They see that you have found a way to build, while others only consume. They begin to wonder if they, too, could develop these quiet habits that seem so natural to you. The teacher who never preaches. When you become the example, you teach without lecturing. You influence without pushing. You show a better way simply by walking it yourself, day after day. Your example answers questions that books cannot touch. How does someone with wealth actually behave? What does it look like to live with both ambition and contentment? How does a person make decisions when they think beyond next week or next month? You demonstrate that wealthy people are not those who spend freely because they have much, but those who spend carefully because they understand value. You show that true prosperity comes not from earning more than you need, but from needing less than you earn. You prove that wealth and worry can part company, that money can be pursued without anxiety consuming your peace. The young person who watches you sees that wealth does not require perfect circumstances or extraordinary luck. They observe your consistent habits and realize that anyone willing to practice the same small disciplines can achieve similar results. The older person who has struggled with money their entire life sees in your example that it is never too late to change direction, that new habits can still take root and grow, living the full circle. To become the example is to complete the circle of wealth. You began by learning principles, moved into practicing habits, and now you give back by embodying what is possible. Your life becomes a gift to everyone who encounters it, not because you tell them what to do, but because you show them what can be done. This is not a burden but a privilege. When you reach the place where your daily habits naturally create wealth, where your relationship with money flows from wisdom rather than want, you have something precious to offer the world. You offer hope made visible. You become proof that ordinary people can build extraordinary fortunes through patient discipline. You become evidence that wealth and character can grow together. You become a living demonstration that the principles taught in books and spoken from platforms actually work when applied with consistency and faith. The daily habits that teach. Your morning routine of reviewing your financial position teaches that wealthy people stay aware of their money. Your habit of reading for 30 minutes each day shows that rich people invest in their minds. Your practice of pausing before any significant purchase demonstrates that prosperity comes from conscious choices, not automatic reactions. When you write in your journal about your financial goals, when you review your investments with calm attention, when you discuss money matters with wisdom rather than worry, you create a classroom wherever you go. Your spouse learns. Your children absorb. Your friends and colleagues unconsciously adjust their own thinking, simply by being in your presence. You are no longer trying to become wealthy. You are wealthy, and wealth flows through every aspect of how you live. This makes you more valuable to others than any advice you could give. Because you provide something much rarer than information, you provide inspiration backed by results. The ripple that never ends. The beautiful truth about becoming the example is that your influence multiplies far beyond what you can see. The person who learns from watching your habits teaches their children differently. The friend who adopts your practice of paying yourself first changes their family's future. The colleague who notices your calm relationship with money begins to question their own anxiety about finances. You become the stone thrown into still water, creating circles of influence that spread far beyond your sight. Generations yet unborn will benefit from the principles you embody today, passed down through lives you touched without knowing it. This is the ultimate return on your investment in daily wealth habits. You do not just build your own fortune. You become a force that helps others believe theirs is possible too. Who will learn from the example of your life? And what will your daily habits teach them about what is truly possible?